Welcome to Live Like an Acrobat. I'm your host, Shenea Stiletto, two-time world champion in acrobatic gymnastics, USA Gymnastics Hall of Fame member, and Cirque artist. Please remember to check out the Circuspreneur.blog.com for extended conversations and interactive content of each episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast. Be sure to check out my weekly handstand doorknob classes and handstand one-on-one private sessions available for booking on aerialfitbodies.com. Please consider making a donation to encourage the continued growth, expansion, and evolution of this podcast. On today's show, I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing circus artist and author at theaterartlife.com, Martin Frenette. My special guest on today's show encompasses the uniqueness of character that this world does not have enough of. Not only linguistically gifted, Martin Frenette is a beacon throughout the circus arts community as he uses his talents and skills to constantly highlight the careers, dreams, ambitions, and goals of others. I wanted to take the time to highlight someone so spiritually avant-garde because he never hogs the spotlight. Martin Frenette uses his extensive circus and theater art knowledge to make fellow artists feel seen, heard, and most of all, center stage. Please enjoy my laughter, banter, and witty repartee with one of the most otherworldly individuals with his feet firmly on the ground or in the air that I've been lucky enough to know during this act we call life, Martin Frenette. Impassioned by performing arts, Martin Frenette started intensive dance training at a very young age before trading pliés and bars for ropes and somersaults at Montreal's National Circus School. He's been performing and working full-time in the industry since 2004 and has spent a decade in Europe where he got to perform in several shows in numerous countries such as Circus Monte, Chameleon Theater, Winter Garden Variété, Cirque Buffon, Max Entertainment Palace, or the Friedrichsbau Variété, to name a few. Next to being an aerialist and dancer, Martin has also been working as an artistic consultant, director, and choreographer, both for circus and dance projects. He very much enjoys splitting his time between Europe and North America and getting to create both on and off the stage. Writing has always been one of Martin's passions, and he's thrilled to share his views on shows, the stage, and what's going on behind the scenes with readers. And that's what led him to become a journalist for theaterartlife.com. Martin Frenette also wrote the Festival du Cirque du Demand's 40th anniversary book's English version, which was published in January 2019. He was hired to translate and adapt the French text in its entirety. In his most recent literary achievement, Martin has recently completed his first novel entitled Maintenant. Please welcome my special guest, Martin Frenette, to the show. Hi, Martin. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me over.
Yes, I want to start by saying that this is so many years in the making. Although we imagined it being at a lovely Indian restaurant in some far-off place in the world, we've been musing and laughing about doing a talk show and, of course, a stage show together since the day we met. You are the Oprah to my Gail, and I'm the Gail to your Oprah. We first met in Germany when you were more so based in Berlin, when my brother was visiting. I love that you met him with me, and we talked him to sleep that night.
He had no idea where our conversation was going, and we couldn't help but explore tree theories and just overall cosmic meanderings about my dad's jacket. Um, yes, that's us, and still us. And we stay connected and uplifted by passing Tina Fey and Amy Poehler videos with Maya Rudolph mixed in to maintain our sanity year in and year out.
During this Stand for the Cause pause, I wanted to state that this episode was recorded before Tina Fey took action and addressed directly the concerns that her TV show and some past works included some hurtful racial content, and that she has since had these works removed from public consumption, and in her own words stated, "As we strive to do the work and do better in regards to race in America, we believe that these episodes featuring actors in race-changing makeup are best taken out of circulation. I understand now that intent is not a free pass for white people to use these images. I apologize for pain they have caused. Going forward, no comedy-loving kid needs to stumble on these tropes and be stung by their ugliness." As we move forward with growth and powerful change within America and around the world, I want to salute all steps taking us in the right direction, no matter how big or small they may be. And now, back to my conversation with Martin Frenette.
That's how we stay connected and loving each other. All it takes is a click. I'll let you respond to my recap of Baby Jesus Talk. Yes, that's our code for connection. I'm looking forward to having you as a future co-host of an episode. It'll be a wallop for sure, that poor guest. So, without further ado, I would like to begin with our first lovely question. Here is an exclusive snippet from your current published piece for theaterartlife.com. You wrote, and quotes, "Choosing to be a circus artist means choosing a lifestyle, not a job. It ain't all about business cards and bank accounts. Such a choice goes far beyond performing in front of an audience. Taking this path means taking charge of your schedule, body, training, and resting periods, especially as a freelancer. Spending as much time looking for performance opportunities as actually performing is an integral part of any performer's life. In spite of possibly leading to frustration and deceptions, this reality cannot be denied nor ignored." I love this new piece that you've written, which is now or will very shortly be available on theaterartlife.com. Can you elaborate on how this relates to your own experience as a circus artist, and what was the inspiration behind writing this piece? I feel like it's something that cannot be said enough about our lives as circus artists. Also, it's a very adaptable skill of life, for the school of life, being a circus artist. How have you relied on this adaptability throughout your life and during such current times of enormous change?
Well, as you know, clearly as a freelancer, again, like we cannot predict how many shows we're going to do unless, and even if you're on long-term contract, what's happening in the world now, you and I both know you can be doing 8 shows a week for a month, and the following month having only one in an entire month. And
Yeah.
I think it's probably the one thing that I'm not blaming the school for that. I went to the National Circus School in Montreal, and I'm saying, oh, it was their job to tell me so. But I think the one lesson that I've really learned for the first years of my career was you are spending more time looking for work than actually being on stage. And I think this is the one lesson that every performer, whether you are an acrobat, a dancer, or an actor, be prepared to look for work. And I want to put it out there from the get-go, from this intro for this article about, like, reality check number one. If you're going to be a performer, get ready. And as I often say with anything in life, if you're not up for it, if you're not qualified for it, find someone who is. So if you're awful with accounting, with giving the bills and doing numbers, get an accountant. If you don't have the patience for promoting, emailing, writing, calling, and all, get an agent. If you kind of make your own training program, get a trainer. Like, it's And I would say it's really about this reality of the artist. We are all spending more time looking for performing time than actually being on stage. And it's a bit the thing that most people are not getting that are out of the business, like relatives of mine or friends that have more conventional jobs, who often say, oh, well, you're only working 2 hours a day. Yeah, that's the show part. We're not going to talk about training, but it's like we're looking for work. It's looking for music, for costume, for all these things. But the promotional part of our work is huge. And as I wrote, it cannot be ignored nor denied. You really need to give yourself a full-time commitment to looking for work. And what I would say has been very interesting for me so far in the last months since the confinement started, I found myself with a lot of time to do other things because the biggest part of my day was almost devoted to promotion. And now, since there are no shows happening until God knows when, I get to do other things. So I think that was actually the reality check I had from this confinement situation. How, wait, like I really spend that much time online, Google, calls, and it is a lot of time. And I think whether you've been doing this for a year or 10 or 20 or about to enter the business, be ready. It is a lot of work to look for work.
Well said, my friend. Isn't that the truth?
It's not the dream to be looking for work all day long. Actually, I even told my sister one day, she works in the bank, and after once, I think we're spending the equal amount of time on a computer. You work in a bank, I'm meant to be on stage, but I think we're spending the same amount of time I did today, really.
Agreed.
We love it.
Oh yes, we do. We love it. Like you said, it's just it's a part of the journey.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It is a huge part of the business, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it ain't called show business for nothing.
Nope.
So, in the past, you've spotlighted my own career on theaterartlife.com, which was a highlight for me. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And I've loved your other recent pieces focusing on lasting, intimate relationships within circus, the complexities of it, and the colorful compromises that are threaded throughout our relationships to a certain extent that is truly not the norm. Your other piece about the artists assisting other artists freely to keep themselves showtime ready and bookable during these times was also very resourceful and incredibly practical for readers. You also wrote about the Broadway shutdown. What drew you to write these pieces, and why are you an artisan journalist, so to speak?
Well, actually, I did not want at first to write about the pandemic and the confinement, this reality, because I felt we're all talking about it. It's our full-time reality. So I was looking for ways to almost go around it. And even like the piece on the Broadway shutdown, if you read it carefully, I do not mention the words pandemic or virus once. I didn't want the piece to be about the virus or the pandemic, but about Broadway shutting down, what it meant, how it happened. Still, though, I felt I had a responsibility to acknowledge what's happening in our world right now, and then to see how can we learn from it, how can we grow from it. And that's the perfect example to me is that piece called Let Me Entertain You, which is about my friend Ulrika, who came up with this website to teach artists how to be better at promoting themselves, how to make websites, how to sell themselves properly. To me, that was the perfect way, in a way, to discuss the pandemic in a way without doing it, because these advices are actually, what she's pointing out, are accurate and are good, whether or not we're in a world where there are 20 shows happening a second or nothing for 20 months. So I found that was the right way, in a way, to discuss our reality right now without making a full piece about virus, pandemic, confinement. like for instance, to make it a bit clearer and be, I did not want to write a piece about how do you train in a pandemic, for instance, So I felt writing about Ulrika's website or about the reality of long distance relationships. But now, especially, I know a bunch of artists are literally in different continents because they cannot travel to see themselves. So these were ways to discuss them. And then as far as how the urge to be a journalist, a writer came, I think I was about 8 years old. But I mean, I've always loved to write. It's always been a passion of mine. And 3 years ago, Anna Rubb, who is the editor and the founder of Dear Art Life, reached out to me on Facebook, and she was on this online magazine where she wanted all the journalists or readers to be from the industry we're working on or off stage. And I thought that was a very interesting project because I love to write. And if I can reach out more people than just on my Facebook or by sharing my thoughts with friends, I thought that could be quite great. And then eventually my first pieces were only about my feelings or my views on topics, and quickly it turned into interviews. And I would write my pieces based on an interview. What it was, I spoke once with a Broadway dresser about what it really is life backstage, and what is it about costume, about props, about the rush, the wings. And I got to meet, either virtually or in person, so many inspiring people. And the one thing I would say, the one common thread that has come out is passion and inspiration. And I think I could write a whole book about just these topics. And I always have these questions about how passion or how inspiration comes to them. And it's been actually inspiring to hear what is someone's definition of passion, or how they get inspired day by day. Because as you know, even though we love it, going on stage every night can be actually is demanding. How do you keep it alive? Or it is really, it has been a gift to meet all the people, to get inside their heads, and then to step back, read the answers, and try to make it from these 4 or 5 pages, cram it into 2 to make a nice piece. It has been very rewarding.
Wonderful. Well, and speaking of, you could write a book about it. You recently finished writing your first novel entitled Maintenant. How was the writing process, and what is your book about, and why did it need to be written out of you?
Well, it's this one because the articles I'm writing for Theatre Art Life or for Circus Talk are in English. This novel is in French, because actually that's my mother tongue. And it's with the cliche, like J.K. Rowling or P.L. Travis, that character just came to me literally. I was walking home one night and I saw that face, and the next morning there was a whole body, and it was like a counter, and it just really, the story came to me. And at the time, because I started to write this piece last year, it was written mostly in 2019. I finished it earlier this year. And at the time, there was still a fuss about TV series, which I won't name, but that people were really praising for being positive and having a nice message. And I sort of disagreed. I didn't see how that topic was positive, or I felt that this product, these people around it were the bad lawyers for a very good cause. And I actually my only aim with this book was to write a book that would be inspiring and about positivity. So the central themes of this novel are being proactive and positive, moving forward. That's where the title comes from. Maintenant means and now, and it's a coffee shop that is named Maintenant, and it's owned by this woman in her 60s. And all these people that are coming to her coffee shops are all facing obstacles, or what they feel is a dead end, or huge changes in their life. And basically, she's listening to them. And then they're all convinced it's the end, it's over, or I kind of move forward. and she just takes the time to guide them into another direction. It's like, okay, that happened in Maintenant, and now, how do you move forward? I'm someone that really isn't into drama and don't like to focus on what's wrong in the world or in someone's. And this character isn't me at all, but I wanted to, in a way, share those views and this idea that you can always move forward, even when you feel it's all over and you just gotta lay down on the ground and cry. No, like just pick yourself up. And so I want to write a story about moving forward and being someone who really likes to cook as well. The fact it's in a coffee shop allows for a whole food narrative because she cooks obviously at the same time. And but it's really, if I have to narrow down simply, it's about being proactive and positive and moving forward. It is not a self-help book, that being said. It really, it's a story, because also each character has their own story. So it is fiction. It's a story. It's a novel that has a very, hopefully I hope, a very positive message. But it isn't secret or like a how do I pick myself up book, you know?
Yes, you are clarifying. Okay, we are. Thank you for letting listeners know. I'm so excited to read it, and I'm so excited to feature it on the circuspreneurblog.com, which I will, in addition to all of your work, for our listeners to know for the future. And I know it's going to be just a remarkable novel, so I can't wait.
Thank you.
And congratulations again, because it is no small feat writing a book, writing and completing a novel.
But it is really rewarding, and it's, if I may say, it's also about staying creative. Again, I started to write this piece last year when I was still doing shows quite a lot and was busy with our projects. But also the one thing that I would like to tell your listeners, your audience now, is, especially if you are an artist, the one advice I give many people is learn to define and to divide your happiness. So that it doesn't only rely on when you're on stage. Meaning, and that's part of the reason why I write is because of this. A few years ago, I was wondering, well, I had less shows happening, and I was getting a bit moody and sad about it. And I was like, well, I still want to be happy in life. So what is it about being on stage that makes me happy? And just break it down. So in my case, okay, I like the fact that I'm being active, I'm physically spent. I like the creativity aspect of it. I like to connect with people. So there were all like these 3 or 4 reasons. And just thinking, okay, well, if I get to do those things in another way, they become stage. For instance, creativity comes with writing. If I don't have a show this week, but I write a lot, I'll still feel happy. And then when I'll go back on stage, it will feel great because my whole happiness isn't relying on this one moment, you know?
I feel like that is invaluable advice. And I feel as though, too, some people learn that at different times and aspects, like during their career. But I feel like if you learn anything from when you start out in circus, it should be that.
Yeah, because the one thing that scares me, I don't want to sound like a dinosaur now, but when I meet young acrobats that are in their late teens or early 20s, and that I ask them, okay, well, let's say they tell me, oh, well, I have a show coming on this year, this month, this week, I don't know what I'm going to do, or I got injured, it's over, oh, I have no more life. So what do you mean? Like, what do you like? Oh, well, I like circus. But like the fact that their whole happiness and life are revolving around only circus is scary to me. So I encourage also people, find you don't have and you cannot commit full time to 20 things, but have other sources of joy and happiness in your life. Otherwise, it's your passion is going to kill you in the end because you won't feel happy unless you're on stage, you know?
Right. Yes. I feel like that's very healthy, and it's very conducive to your overall mental health as a circus performer seeking longevity in your career, and even for the short term too.
And even I have this one friend in Berlin, his name is Philip, and he's a contortionist in his 40s now, and he's someone that takes the contracts that he wants. He doesn't take long term. Like his happiness is a lot about Berlin, is home, so he won't take 6 months in Australia because he likes to come back home. So that was a choice he made years ago. If I'm going to be happy, I need to be able to come back home to my flat in Berlin. And so I think that's someone that I know has a very healthy relationship with the state and his work, because he made the choice. Okay, I know I need this. I need to go home once a week or so on my days off. So I'm not going to take long contracts far away that I cannot come back home. So same for anyone. If you need to see your grandmother every week, that's okay. You don't have to be on stage every single night. If your grandmother is bringing more happiness than a bunch of strangers clapping for you, that's okay.
Exactly. Yes, you mold it to how it suits you on a personal tone in every single way that you can. And I really do feel like that increases the overall happiness and, like you said, the healthy connection to your career. So in terms of circus performing, why did you choose your particular specialties, and what do you feel is your highest task to fulfill on stage and throughout a contract? I know your last long-term contract before the sheltering in was, in your own written reflections, the best stage experience you've ever had. Why and how important is that for circus artists to be deeply aware of while living their career? This kind of ties into what you were really just talking about.
Well, my main discipline, my specialty is called double rope or double cloud swing, which is 2 pieces of rope basically. And it came to me, I was at circus school. I was first trained as a dancer from the age of 5 until my teens when I went to circus school. And I knew I wanted to make something aerial. I wanted to perform an aerial act. And I tried swing trapeze, liked it, but then it was lacking there. I tried fabric or silk, and the durability of it, but there was always something. I tried cloud swing, there was always something lacking. And when I got on that double rope, on those 2 ropes, it just felt like at home. On the first time I went on there, I was like, okay, this is me. And I think the fact that with the 2 ropes, there were possibilities to, in a way, mirror my dance work with arabesque and splits and different shapes. It felt like a natural link with my strength as a dancer. And I enjoyed how complex and simple this prop looks, because I like to do all these weird shapes and knots, intricate puzzles, but then in an instant I'm only hanging by 1 foot and it's all gone. It's only 1 rope. So I often compare it to a maze that I'm trying to get out of, in a way, by doing all these shapes, going up and down, up and down. And I think that's one of the best compliments I've got out of an audience member was, I never knew what was going on, but you made it look so simple in a way. Like, he was confused in a very healthy way. So I like how, again, it can be very simple, yet very intricate when you look at it. And I wanted to be in the air, that was for sure. And I do not perform at 20, 30 meters high in the air. I'm a bit closer to the stage because I like the connection with I can reach the rope. I'm sitting on stage, I can reach the rope standing up, And I like that you get to use the floor too, a bit of the floor connection with the dance again. And so basically that's how this rope became my specialty. And it's the one place, as I said, anytime I go up there, I'm home. I'm the best person, the best artist that I can be. I feel like this is who I really am. On or off stage, my personality comes out on that road. And then you asked about what is my duty, and what was my duty, or what I'm supposed to do on stage. What was the second question?
It was, what is your highest task to fulfill on stage and throughout a contract?
Well, about on stage, to me, it really is about connecting with the audience. I really feel as a performer, I find it's our duty and even our obligation in a way to connect with people. And I think every artist, whether you're a ballerina, an actor, singer, or a contortionist, every artist has a story to tell. We're all storytellers, and I want to share mine, not a personal life story, but a story, something with the audience. So I really try to look people in the eyes when I'm performing, when it's possible. And to me, it really is what I love most about performing is this connection with the audience. I love even hearing them being quiet in a way, or like hearing them think, or a gasp, or I don't need non-stop clapping or cheering. I actually prefer a bit quieter audiences for that reason, that you really feel they're watching you. And I really think, to me, it really is about connecting with the audience. I think that's our main duty on stage, to connect with the audience and to take them on a ride with us, wherever that's ride going to lead them. But connect with the audience, that's the main duty. And then as contract, it may sound silly, but actually I believe in it. Your main duty is be a nice person. As simple as be nice. And that connects to the last gig I did. I was in Cirque for 4 months, and that was by far one of the healthiest runs I had, because those were nice people, and I think I was nice too. So no drama, no fights, just don't try and put your ego first. Don't try to show how big, how strong you are, why you're so special. None of us are unique snowflakes. We're all in this together. It is, to me, a show is really about being a team on and off stage. And that's probably why that run of shows in Stuttgart was so amazing and privileged about, because the energy on stage and off stage was the same. There was no faking it, or people were smiling if they wanted to, or were quiet if they wanted to. And the door was always open. And if you wanted to go, you could go in. Otherwise, you could just stay back, and no feelings were hurt. I think it's really your job, on any contract, be a nice person and learn from those around you. I really feel we are lucky as artists to meet so many people and to be in touch with so many cultures and roots and traditions. I could probably spend a year talking with each person I've ever performed with. Be aware, open up, look up, listen out. You have so much to learn from every single person in a show. Go for it.
Yes, that's beautiful. Is there a particular type of show that you really love that you have not explored personally, and maybe will never experience personally, but a type of performance that is just maybe even an unexpected type of performance that you really love, that people wouldn't expect that you actually really love?
I'm going to answer this one in 3 parts. The one that I feel that I should try, just because I don't want to, because I don't feel like I could do it, is something more like comedic or like clownish. That's something some people have told me over the years. Oh, you should do like a clown act or something funny, and I do not want to do it at all. But I think eventually I should find my a friend of mine who's a clown told me once, oh, you just need to find your inner clown. Like, I don't want to. Yeah, but he's there. So I think someday I'll have to acknowledge I have an inner clown in me. Otherwise, I would like, but that wouldn't be a surprise to anyone who knows me. I would like eventually to work on a musical, not singing per se, because I don't have voice to do so. But I often go in New York, now obviously, I've seen tons of shows at Broadway, West End as well, and there is something just huge about those shows. And I would like to see how, well, I think the offstage show interests me as much as the one on stage. And I think I would like to be involved in some capacity in a musical just to see how does that work. And I think for you and I, we've been on a lot of like variety shows and cabarets where we're small ensembles. So what is it like to be in a cast of 100 or 60 or 70, how many they are? And I would like to see what it's like to be on a really big show. And then lastly, I would like eventually to do something very classic like the Moulin Rouge in Paris or the Tiger Palace in Frankfurt, like very classic cabaret, like the old times, being very close to the audience, small orchestra. I really like those old-fashioned shows. When I was living in Europe, I went at least twice a year to the traditional circuit as well. I find something beautiful in the classic form of shows. So I think eventually I would like that. That would be like a really good gig for me. I think to be in a place like Moulin Rouge or Tiger Palace and ride during the day, go home at night, and have a healthy life.
Yes, I've been to Tiger Palace. It is very quaint and cozy.
Yes.
Yes.
Very intimate.
Yes, very, very intimate, and also one of my favorite ways to perform as well. So circus is very international. We travel extensively throughout the world, and I feel like that's one of the privileges of being a circus artist. Is there a part of the world that you fell in love with, or that just has a special place in your heart because you went there for work, and maybe not necessarily the show was the highlight or the work was the highlight, but going into that particular location became the highlight, and it's like a positive trigger for you when you remember it?
Well, Berlin really was home for me for 6 years. And it's a place that I first went to the city when I was on my first tour. I was 19 or 20, and I had a few days off, and I had friends at the time living in Berlin. Oh, you have to come. And from the second I got off the plane, instinctively I felt at home. It felt natural. And I think 2 or 3 years later, I moved there to be on a show. And it has changed a lot over the years, clearly. And I don't think I could be able to live there now as I used to, just being based there, training, having a life. I would go there in a heartbeat to be on a show for 3, 4, 6 months for sure. But I think I was in my early mid-20s. Now I'm in my 30s. I've changed a lot. The city has changed a lot too. But it's still, I went back when I was in Stuttgart this winter, and there's still a connection, even though it has changed a lot. Berlin I lived there, yeah, again, I was there for 6 years. It has so many fun memories are coming back to me when I'm there. And I really grew up as a person, as an artist. So Berlin is a very special place for sure in my heart. And on a totally different point of view, I was in Moscow 2 years ago. And this was a very unexpected gig. It was for a TV show, and I've always vowed I would not do those talent kind of shows. But they pitched it, and they sold it really, really well. It wasn't one of those Got Talents with mean judges show. It was a different context. But it's mostly the people, again, the team over there. Whether it was the technician that rushed to stop me from getting my bag off the floor to help me because he liked my act, or a cameraman tapping me on the back when I walk off stage because he liked what I did, or the interpret was asking me maybe 20 times a day, are you happy? Are you okay? Do you need something? There was so much love and care from every single person in that studio. For a huge production, it felt insanely human. And I was happily surprised when I went to the city. I had the feeling it would be very busy, crowded, rushing, running, a bit like London or New York. And I was surprised to see how it's a big city. And yet people were okay, we're calm, we're taking their time. And I went into a bakery, and obviously I don't speak Russian. And this adorable woman took her phone out, tried to translate. I was asking her some stuff and showed it to me in English what she wanted to say. Really helped me out, find the best thing in her shop for me. And I think you as well, I have many Russian friends. I work with many Russians being a circus. And I never got a feeling that I knew actually exactly what the Russian culture is or how they are, especially, I think there's a huge difference how Russians, or actually how anyone behaves away from where they're from when they're at home. And I was curious, okay, how is it when I'm in their country and I'm the foreigner, Because when in Germany, in France, in the States, and the Russians come in the cast, they're the foreigners. And I was like, well, now I'll be the foreigner over there. And then they were insanely warm and welcoming. And it's a place I'll happily go back to. I don't think I would be able to live there full time, but I would go back just for the warm welcome I got from that city. Really touched me, actually. It was unexpected and beautiful.
Oh, I actually have very similar feelings. I've been in Moscow many times throughout my life, from when I was a little baby acrobat competing, and then for doing specialty performances and shows. And I love Moscow, and I don't think I could live there full time because I don't think I could afford it.
Yeah, that's the other one as well. It's a very expensive city.
It is now an incredibly expensive city. I tip my hat to every person that I've ever known that lives there and has maintained their life there, especially someone in the arts. But there's a warmth to the Russian culture, and being in circus, we are incredibly connected to the Eastern European cultures because they're mostly our colleagues, and I've been very fortunate and felt fortunate to grow with them and learn with them, and have many of them actually raised me from when I was really little. So it does feel like family to me in many ways. So, what are your thoughts as someone living in the headquartered city of Cirque du Soleil on their financial fallout and crisis? What is the story on the ground in Montreal? And do you know artists personally affected, and how have they coped? What do you think this says about the overall crisis of circus worldwide, as Cirque holds such a monopoly on it?
Well, I think clearly for the whole industry, I think I'm not going to surprise anyone by saying that Cirque du Soleil is one of the most important players in the business. So I think when people were hearing that Cirque du Soleil was maybe going bankrupt or was struggling, the idea was, okay, well, if they're struggling, how will the small companies survive? If they can't, I know people in Vegas that are on non-Cirque du Soleil shows, and the idea was, okay, well, if these shows are shut down, how will we survive? And if they're not going, we're not going for sure. And I think it will have a huge impact. I don't know how long it will last until they can get their balance back. Clearly have many friends on those shows. So of course they've been affected, and they were meant to be on tour for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And some have been performing with them. A friend of mine in Vegas has been since 1998. It's the first time since she was on a maternity leave that she's not performing. So for someone who's been performing that long to not be able to go on stage anymore has to be quite challenging. And I hope the one positive thing that I hope will come out of this for the company is that maybe they'll be able to redefine who they are, what they are. I feel that they produce a lot of shows over the years, and a part of me, like a nostalgic part of me, misses like the poetry of the simplicity of some of the earlier productions. And I hope I felt that in the last years there was a rush to produce as many shows as possible. And I hope this break, which hopefully won't be a breakdown for good, just that this little break will allow them to look back, step back, and say, okay, well, maybe let's do less and go all the way for what we do. Because they produce amazing shows that have inspired me actually to become a circus artist. So I hope we'll be able to see them come back to life in a healthier, more balanced life, actually.
Yes. Well, also, in addition to that question around Cirque du Soleil, Daniel Crispin, an Australian national treasure, has during the same time lodged a huge lawsuit against Cirque, claiming that he was maimed and left severely handicapped by his time as a lead artist in their show Tarouk. He's seeking payment for his extensive medical bills and may never fully perform again. I feel really deeply for him. His lawsuit is unprecedented as well. What do you think that says about the dark side of circus? The circus that you know more about if you're an actual performer, as so much is left from media or audience knowledge. And how much do you think, how different is circus now than it was to when you began circus, and then even from before you even began circus? Because to me, you're such a, I would say, archaeologist of circus and of shows and of entertainment. You have such a vast knowledge of the history and the ins and outs of this industry, and then just in terms of the field of arts. So how do you think it's changed so much, and what do you think about it are good changes? What changes about circus arts do you feel like are alarming, like what you stated about Cirque? Is that something that you feel is more generalized feeling when you look at the overall plight of the circus industry?
Well, just about Daniel Crispin's story, what I thought about when I read the piece that came out, I think, in March, was of actually this idea of the show must go on that is enforced on all of us. And I think we all have this unhealthy mentality when we start doing circus shows that we can go, we can do it. We are trained to get used to and even to embrace discomfort and then pain. We are trained to live with it and to move over it, to ignore it to some capacity. I honestly, I don't want to go into history because I don't remember that clearly. But I do feel, and because I've read other stories, I've witnessed actually similar stories, where if maybe we didn't have, I don't think something like the company puts pressure on artists to perform, but I think often we ourselves are saying, okay, now I had pain in my shoulder for about 3 days. I'll do the show. It's gonna be okay. I'll do some more TheraBands or something. And we are trained. We believe, okay, well, the show must go on. This idea of I can go. I'll do it. I'll get over it. It's gonna be fine. And I think we really are pushing ourselves. And I feel that many artists don't respect their bodies enough. And that's why actually I'm quite thankful for. As I said, I was trained as a dancer before I went to circus. And my ballet dances were really intense on warming up, cooling down, stretching, all these very disrespectful relationship you have with your body. And I feel something that isn't really present in some circus artists. I've seen people go on stage while warming up. Oh, I'm fine, go. In the long run, it's hurting us. Of course, we can all go with minimal warm-up, and we've done it so many times. But I really hope that stories like Daniel Crispin's can just bring some light to us and realize, okay, we're not superheroes. We should tell the ego to shut up at times and listen to our bodies. And we shouldn't be afraid to tell a company, a manager, a director, whoever is above us, I am not going on stage tonight. And it's my body, it's my main tool. And the thing is, we have a life past circus. I love performing, I love training, I love what I do. But I also want at 80 years old, I want to be able to keep on running, and I hope I can even still do split at 80. I don't want to be with a cane or like some wheelchair. I look at my grandfather who's 91, who is going around his lake every single morning for I don't know how many miles. I think like 3 miles every morning. Like, this is what I want. At 91, I want to be able to walk 3 miles a day and maybe more. So if we push ourselves too much, if we don't listen to our bodies, it won't happen. So I hope stories like Daniel's can really open a dialogue about the respect of our bodies, and that we won't be afraid to say stop. And if even it doesn't have to be physical, if you've learned before going on set your mother passed away, or that you just got you just got left at the altar before, so like, if you don't feel like you are mentally and physically focused enough to do a show, it shouldn't be. Well, if you broke a toenail, different story. But I mean, if your focus isn't there, it could lead to tragedy. And you want to have a career, you want to have a life that will both last. So learn to listen, to respect your body, and to not to be afraid to ask for the same respect out of your superiors, however big the company might be. It's not with every show, but actually more it goes. There often are understudies. There are standbys. There are people that know your track, that can film your cues. And it happened to us at some point on the show that I was on in Stuttgart that one or two artists had health issues or emergency and they had to leave. And we covered for them. So if you're not ready to go on, there's a team on and off stage. Ask for help and have a long, healthy life and career.
Yes. Well, to extend on that about wanting to be able to walk 3 miles at 90, you sent me a fantastic video profiling an artist about what it's like aging as a circus artist. Her name is Rositas Garrido.
Rositas Garrido. Yes, Brazilian friend of mine, awesome girl.
Yes.
Woman, I should say.
Yes, the link to the video will be available on the circuspreneurblog.com. She's very charming.
She's very inspiring artist and friend of mine, very enlightened and warm, and again, and she's not 91, she's in her 40s, but I've known her for many years, but I've never heard her talk about aging in a circus, and I think she's been doing this for over 20 years easily, and it was very inspiring to me to listen to her describe her journey through different decades, and how now at 40 something she's reaching out differently to the audience, and how she's connecting with her body in a different way,
Yeah, exactly. And with that said, what do you love about directing, professional coaching, and choreographing, and how has your perspective changed now that you are older and aging as a circus artist?
Well, I think probably the biggest fun I get out of circus after performing is directing or doing choreography or being an artistic consultant, just because it's I want to be polite here, but it's like having toys in a way to play with. Like, okay, well, like when you're a kid, you have your Legos, you can make your own stories. Like, okay, well, now I have a body that I can. Okay, how about you go slow there? How about you go high? You go. It's just I think I cannot do everything, obviously, and even I've worked a lot with artists that practice discipline that I don't, but because I know my body well, I know anatomy well, I can see where they could go and where they could try. And I find it is a playground to be with other artists. And to see, I think many artists are really in their tricks, in their routine. and aren't aware of how unique they can be. Because the thing is, anyone can learn a trick with time and devotion. Anyone can learn the same tricks. Anyone can do the same routines, the same combinations. But then when you work with someone, you really look at the way they move, even the way they walk through the room. You can pick up something, and then how about we take the thing you do with your hips when you're just walking on the stairs could go in your hoop, actually, and could make that twist special to you. And it is, I think that's what I love most about doing choreography and artistic work, is to make someone shine using their true self, their personality. Because I said before, we're not unique snowflakes, but we can all be different and make the show our own, and the tricks our very own. So how do you give a color to someone, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, their own. To make
Exactly.
it their own. And I would also like to add that you never aged to me, darling. You've never aged. You're timeless.
Yeah. Because although, well, if I may say, like I said, I hope I'll get to 91 and be able to walk 3 miles. I hope that I will have an older, wiser mind. I like aging, because I like I'm no longer actually the young kid in the show. I like the knowledge gathered through the years and the resources and the mentality. I hope my body will remain young, but as far as my head, I'm happy to be aging and to be able to pass knowledge along. And even though I'm not a dinosaur, like to be able to, share my experience and my views, you know?
Of course, yes. That's so important, especially for the younger performers coming in. I feel like that wisdom is so invaluable, and it's not lost on me. I sense that whenever I am giving advice to someone and they are younger, and it hits you differently when you're older and you've seen so much and you've had such a long career, and there's so much integrity, I believe, in your perspective and in what you have to say. And as much as we want to believe that it doesn't change from 18 to where we are at other ages, once you get to those other ages, I feel like you do see how much it does change. And it really, I think it blows your mind when you think like, wow, all of that knowledge, all of that information under my belt, and how I'm able to assist better, because then I feel like you become an even more valuable asset within any kind of show that you're in, because you soften its edges.
Totally. And like even recently, it was in the wintertime, I was at a friend of mine. Her name is Amy Hancock in Vermont, and I wrote actually a piece based on an interview with her about how an artist's body is their beating heart. And she was turning 45 when I was there. And looking at her and listening to her, I thought, 40s are going to be awesome. I really feel like the way she sees life as a mother of three who's been in the circus industry for over 20 years now. I think we are, and with all like the newcomers shows, like the youth is a huge part of the industry, but I really feel that aging performers are beautiful to watch. And I've said it many times, I know some other performers that are in their 40s now, and I'm going to plug a name now, Homie Zeit, artist in Berlin. I've said it many, many times. This woman is in her early 40s now. She just comes on stage, raises one eyebrow, and you're stunned. That's all she needs to do. There is a maturity, there is a presence that you don't have at 18. And I saw last year, Elena Lev reprising her role in Allegria, doing the hula hoop act that I think she was 38 or 39 last year. And this act, she was, I think, 13. But I thought, watching her during the show last year, I don't want to see a teenager do this act. Like, it is awesome because you are this woman with this maturity, this life experience. So as much fun as it is to watch young 20 years old jumping around, bouncing around, performers with maturity with stronger stage presence that you don't learn, and it is beautiful to see.
Yes, it is. It's like a fine wine.
Just having a balance. Don't get like all newcomers or all older performers. Just like full between. A nice little balance, you know.
Yes. Do you feel as though, well, there's always something to be still discovered, but what is within you that you feel is still undiscovered in terms of directing or artistic directing, choreographing? What is there within you that you feel like you're still searching to tap into within all of the different ways that you tap into your artistry, because you are a person of many talents and many skills, and many, I would say, interesting perspectives on the circus world and on the entertainment world?
As far as directing and choreography goes, I would really love to do more ensemble work, like directing full shows or bigger casts. I've done it once in 2016, 2012 and 2016, and I've actually enjoyed as much fun it is to work one-on-one with someone. I also like being in charge of a group, but mostly working with a group and trying to get this one voice. When you're a one-on-one, there's your voice and of course the artist's voice. When an ensemble to witness this energy coming out and to listen to this voice that is one come out is also very interesting. And just getting to work on bigger pictures and also on a longer production, because it's fun to work on an act, but an act is 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Working on a show that can be 1, 2, 2.5 hours long is awesome. And I would like to be able to direct groups and work on bigger productions to really do lots of these, because I was a dancer, so I like dance numbers or even group acrobatic numbers or group aerial numbers, and be able to do choreography for pieces with more people would be awesome. That's something I really would like to do. And as far as myself on stage, as I said before, something like Moulin Rouge or Tia Palace, where it's very simple. It's just you on stage with the audience, very close. I feel it is really cool in a way when it comes to stage presence and projecting. And I feel that that's how I could really grow now as an artist. I feel like I've reached a point where I don't want to learn 20 new tricks. I don't want to make my act so strong, so cool, so the best. I want to be myself. I want to be able to connect the audience in a very simple way, without being so extroverted and so showman. And I feel venues like that are really intimate would be an awesome place to do so.
I love it. And with my final question, as this relates to the current climate in America and around the world, so this is a pretty big pivot, you sent me another video about racism, which was so hilariously powerful, titled "How to Deconstruct Racism one Headline at a Time." Yes, yeah. by Baratunde Thurston. You've got to see it for yourself to understand how accurate and awesome. Respectful.
It is brilliant.
Yes. How accurate and respectful my description of the video is. It really is hilarious, hilariously powerful. What I love about you, Martin, and our connection is that it has always been built out of a deep reverence for the ability to be irreverent. Bringing our whimsical sarcasm with huge doses of wisdom is the superpower. And so, what is your take on the lack of diversity in circus arts and the overt and covert racism that exists in circus that I've experienced and so many Black colleagues and those of color have experienced for many years, that has unfortunately brutalized many of our otherwise would-be luminous career experiences?
Well, people tend to say that I have a very utopic, optimistic view of the world, and I tend to forget stuff, so I might be wrong here. But I grew up in the 90s, well, 80s, 90s, but mostly 90s, and what I've experienced as a kid growing up in the 90s, I grew up in Montreal in the city, which is, so of course, you're a small town, different story, but from the second I went to preschool, there were Lebanese, Vietnamese, African, Asian. I've never been in an all Caucasian, all white group. So from the age of 5, I was aware of all these different races and cultures, and already I remember, I think it was in 2nd grade, this Lebanese girl at recess brought us some treats. Her mom had made like a typical Lebanese recipe, and thought it was so delicious and interesting. Oh, I never had those, and I kind of get those at the market. No, it's my mom makes them, and I feel racism is the thing that I can honestly not understand in the world. Meaning, as someone who grew up always surrounded by people of so many different of colors, I'm like, but wait, these people are like me. They have different shades. They might have different eyes. They might have a different accent, but they're humans just like I am. It's really, I would say racism is the one thing I'm struggling in with the world, because I don't understand where it's coming from. Why is it that because someone comes from different, actually, in some cases, for instance, in the US, you may be African American, but you were born in the US nevertheless. You can be Japanese American, but you were still born in Atlanta. So wait, your roots might go back God knows where, but you're still a citizen of that country. How? And you went to the same school, same program. How is that different? I never understood. And then when it comes to Cirque, especially, I haven't witnessed much, thankfully, racism in cast and backstage, because I think I'm sure it happens though, but I think it's the one place where it just can't happen, because every show has, like, the last show was on, were we from 6 different countries, or how many were. It is the beauty of this world is of all these cultures meeting, being able to share what we believe in, what we've learned, what we've witnessed. I remember there was a circus I was working with in Switzerland called Monty, and I spent 2 years with them. And once a year, they had the multi-culti night, which was all about food and music. So people would cook dishes from their home country, bring music from their home country, and it was awesome. And I loved that night both years, just because, again, that's the best part of what we do, is being able to see the world without spending our entire income on traveling, And I really hope that we can move forward and just stop thinking, because your skin is darker than mine, you're not qualified, or I'm struggling with it. That's why, like, the TED Talk I sent you, I did because I thought, well, the man clearly is not mocking racism, but he's putting a very funny yet serious twist on it. So I hope we can find more ways to discuss racism while keeping it, how to discuss racism, highlighting the issues, and yet keeping it light, so we can not laugh about it, but find a way to find the irony in it, and how absurd it is. Then that's probably it. It is so absurd, it should not even exist. If we're laughing that hard at this quote, how come it is? Well, actually, how come it's this quote in a newspaper if it is that absurd, you know?
Yes, I feel like that is the word, the word absurd. I also think that it's absurd and something that I've never been able to wrap my mind around, and I never will, just like you.
We will overcome it. We will get over it.
Yes, we will overcome it. One laugh and one giggle at a time, while also honoring the brevity and the gravity of that experience. But I love how you see the world. I love how you bring experiences and heavy issues that exist in the world to me through different lenses and through just counter perspectives and counter viewpoints, and they're always just so enlightening. And it's like what you said, and that's what I love about the word enlightening. It means to make things lighter, and since these are such heavy topics, I am grateful when people are able to create the space of a lighter conversation for everybody involved, so that I believe it can penetrate you deeper than another conversation, in terms of something that came to you in a much harsher way, or something that felt not as inclusive or not as understanding of maybe where you're at in your own personal consciousness and perspective on the topic or on the conversation. So I really just adore you, and I love the way that you see the world and the way that you move through the world, and as a person, as an artist, in all the capacities that you provide to the arts and to the circus world. And I love seeing your journey and how much you continue to evolve all the time and bring different facets of yourself into the circus world, and how you also too bring so many voices from circus to us. And you're so valuable within the circus world because of what you seek to give back to us. So I really appreciate you, Martin. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. It's been a while as well, so it's been good.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Live Like an Acrobat with my special guest, Martin Frenette. Please make sure to check out the Circuspreneurblog.com for extended conversations and interactive content of each episode of the Live Like an Acrobat podcast. Until next time, please stay safe and stay healthy.